Okay, welcome. This recording, I'm going to give you a quick start guide. And what I mean by that is I want to take you through all of the basic steps of adding a student, getting them up and running, entering weekly data, logging in, logging out, the whole process from A to Z in just one quick, easy, I hope, tutorial. So here we are at the CIMME homepage. I'm going to click on the Secure Site tab to log in and enter my username and password. Once logged in, I go to my message center by default. And although your panel might look different than mine, I'll close it down here a little bit. And the first thing I need to do is I need to see if the student is in my school. Now, one way that I can do this is I can simply go to Enter Assessments, and I can leave all of this blank and click Search. And it will show any students that are already added to my school. So this is an important first step. So number one, click the Enter Assessments, just click Search, and it will show you all the kids that are in the school. If the child's already here, then don't enter them again. But this is a quick way to check and see if they're already in your school. If they are already there, the next step that you would go to is Begin Intervention. Now I'm going to show you how to add a new student, but don't add a student if they're already in this list. Okay, so there's kind of tool tip number one. Don't add a new student if they already appear here. If they do, then you can just simply go to Begin Intervention. If they don't, then we go and we add them to our school. So I'm going to pretend that I'm looking for another student, Stanley Smith. Stanley Smith is not in my school, so I'm going to add him. So I click on Add or Transfer a Student. I have to put in his MEDMS ID number, his last name, his first name, middle initial if I have it, his birthday, I can choose to put in his gender or not, the date he is enrolled. This is, for most children, the first day of school that year. Not the first day they ever went to your school, just the first day of school at your school for that year. So I'm going to put in 09/01/2011. And the school, most of you will only have one school choice. And then finally, and this is an important step, please be accurate in what grade you put him in, because you won't be able to change that later. So let's see, second grade, and the class or group is the class, the regular classroom teacher that this student is assigned to. Now I click Check, and I'm asked to enter any other information I have about this student. I'm going to skip this for now because I'm not required to add any more information than what I have. If you have this other information and you're allowed to share it, it would be very good in terms of looking at program effectiveness to include it. But we understand that if you're not able to or allowed to share that, that's fine. Once you get to this page, we scroll down to the bottom and we just click the Save Data box. Now, we can see that we have this information recorded about the student. Now I can begin an intervention with them. So there are two key features here in this system. We add students to our school, that makes them available to us. But in order to enter data on them, we have to begin an intervention. So now I'm going to click on Begin Intervention. Some of you folks may have already seen your student in that list, so you didn't add them. So this is where we begin the intervention with them. We decide what kind of intervention that they should have. I'm going to say that this should be a literacy lessons intervention. And then I choose the student that I want to select. So there's my Stanley Smith. I check him and say begin intervention. I could actually add several kids to reading recovery, or excuse me, literacy lessons all at once if I wanted to. But I'm just going to add one. If I wanted to add more than one, I would just check multiple boxes. I'm going to undo that though, and I'm going to just have Stanley begin intervention. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is enter the first day that I met with the student. That's my first roaming lesson. I'm going to say that was the very first day of school. I was really on it here as a teacher. And my first lesson began 14 days later. So we'll say on 9/15/2011. I need to put in the student's reading performance. Let's say that's below average. And then I will add begin intervention. Before I go on though, I just want to emphasize how important this page is. First roaming, that's the first day you met with a student. First lesson, that's the first instructional lesson after roaming, the date of the first regular lesson. Okay? So those are really key things. Once this is set up, once you have your students in the system, it's pretty quick and easy to add their data. So we'll see how that goes. Begin intervention. Now I see all of the students that I have in literacy lessons. So the steps that I just took you through are steps you'll only do once with a student. You won't do them each time you log in. You'll only do them the very first time. Now that they've been added in here, they've been added to the literacy lessons intervention, now I can enter data on them. So I just simply check Stanley and say enter weekly data. It asks me for his text reading level, the book title, the number of running words in the book, how many errors he committed, how many self-corrects, and what was his writing vocabulary that week. Now remember, writing vocabulary is cumulative. Any comments that I have, how many lessons that we got in that week, so we'll say we got all 5 in, and I click submit. And that's it. And now I can see he's had 5 lessons in 1 week and his other basic information. If I want to look at that record, I can click show record, and I can see that he is a little bit below here in accuracy. His 3 out of 23 put him below 90% accuracy. If I wanted to enter data on another student, there's a number of ways that I could do that. I could just click on the name of the intervention that I wanted to enter data on. So if I went back to literacy lessons, I could click on James. I could also click on Gina. So I could enter data on 2 students at once. I won't do that right now. But what I've taken you through is the quick start guide. Those are the steps involved in getting into the system, checking to see if a student is in there, adding them to the school if you need to, then beginning a new intervention. That's where you say, how are you working with this student? And then finally, adding weekly data. But remember, once a kid is set up, once a child is set up in the system, you don't have to add them to the system or begin new interventions with them each time. You just simply go in and add weekly data. So I know that there are a lot more details, and those are covered in a lot more details, rather a lot more detail in all of the other video presentations. But this was designed to be a quick start guide to get you in, add your students, begin an intervention, and add 1 weekly record.